What am I talking about, my God? Whoa, my God, talking about my God. Whoa, my God, talking about my God.
Yeah.
Yes.
Woo-hoo. Yay, that was awesome. You're awesome. If you weren't here to listen to the Sunday message last week, you needed to listen to it on YouTube. Yeah. And you'll find out all about being awesome and how awesome you really are. I'm awesome too. Oh my goodness, good morning. It's November. November 6th? What? What is going on? Is today the 6th or the 7th? 6th, right. And, well, we have a full house, so I know that you got the time change all figured out. That's fabulous. Oh, wow, let me look at you. Good morning, everyone. I see some new faces, some familiar faces. Yeah, I see you looking at got my boot off. Yeah. Wow. Good morning, Zoomers. Hello, beloveds. Yeah. Oh, today's a good day. So, what great music. And I love those songs, excellent choices. Those are going to be our earworms throughout the week, you know, when we're vacuuming. My God, my God. So great. Oh, our music team is so awesome, aren't they? Let's give them some more love. Yes, all right. So the Seed of Awakening for the month of November is a little different this year because usually November is all about gratitude and giving thanks, and we're going to carry that theme through because it's only natural with the Thanksgiving holiday that we celebrate here in the States. And so for this month, we're actually doing something a little different, and that Seed of Awakening is home. Home. Now, I want to ask you what you think of when you imagine home. When you hear the word home, what comes to mind? What do you experience? Do you have feelings, or do you think of like an actual place, or is it a current place or a future place? What do you experience when you think of that word home? So whenever I think of home, the first thing that comes to my mind is there's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. And from Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, how many have seen that film? Oh, gosh. Yeah, everyone, right? Raise your hand if you have not seen that. Okay, thank you. You are my people. So the idea of home, we're going to talk about Dorothy and her story a little bit today, but the idea of home is a primal idea among our collective archetypes. And so all across ages and cultures, it can most simply be said that home is where the heart is. Yes. Metaphorically, though, home is a place that is holy, W-H-O-L-L-Y, and holy, H-O-L-Y. Known and familiar. It's that heart-filled place where we feel safe and fully free to be our unvarnished selves, knowing that we belong and that there is always unconditional love and acceptance in this place we call home, yes? So this month we'll begin our discovery of home with an exploration of this archetype of home as both the starting point and destination of the spiritual journey that we're on. And so, believe it or not, The Wizard of Oz debuted on television 66 years ago on November 3rd, 1956. Wow. Now, you probably remember that, yes, Dorothy wanted to go home, and she was clicking those ruby slippers, saying there's no place like home, but the other three characters also wanted something for themselves, that in a way would make them feel at home too, at home in their bodies, right? So for instance, the lion wanted the experience of courage. The scarecrow wanted the experience of wisdom. And the Tin Man wanted the experience of a heart. He felt like he really needed that to experience himself fully, right? And how beautiful is that? So what about us? What do we need to feel? What do we need to feel that will have us feel like we are home? Because home is wherever you are, right? And how can we make the space of our own consciousness home and have it be wherever we go? So in the Holmes Reader on Practical Wisdom, Ernest Holmes said, "The Spirit of God is an undivided and indivisible wholeness. It fills all time with its presence and all space with the activity of its thought. Everyone is an incarnation of God and a unique incarnation. All are rooted in the one life. Your endeavor, then, is not so much to find God as it is to realize God's presence right where you are and to understand that this presence is always with you." Just like the idea of home, right? Capital H. So nothing can be nearer to you than that which is the very essence of your being. Your outward search culminates in the greatest of all possible discoveries, finding God at the center of your being. So life flows up from within you. Now, all of that is Ernest Holmes. Now, the hero's journey represents that outward search that we have to find the truth and the presence that lies at the center of our being, right? We go out and look for it and eventually find you have it right here. Or as Dorothy learned, she had it all along. She was out seeking for something, and she had the power all the time, right? So the recognition of God's presence within us is that realization that unconditional love, wholeness, and oneness is our spiritual home, which we can access anywhere, anytime. Now, the stories of Dorothy, Alice in Wonderland, and Mulan, for example, among the many, right? These are just a few examples of reflections of what's called the great monomyth. And just as the stories of Jesus, Gautama Buddha, and Moses all refer to this archetype that was described by Joseph Campbell in The Hero with 1,000 Faces. So the hero's journey represents the process of psychological and spiritual transformation from, an innocent child into a mature and self-actualized adult. Now, everyone has the potential and capacity to be the hero of their life journey. And if we shift our conscious awareness into realizing, oh, I am the hero of my journey, and then you'll know, well, the hero's always triumphant in the end, right? And so that is so comforting to me because that means that as I'm in trials and tribulations, what appear to be troubles, circumstances, and conditions in our lives, maybe that we don't like, right, or we don't want to be experiencing, we can be like Dorothy and reach out to our friends, to allies, get allies, and people that will walk with us down the yellow brick road of life to assist us on this path, right? Knowing the truth for us. Here we have licensed practitioners, we have each other to know the spiritual truth, to know the highest and best good for our lives, even when we can't. Because sometimes when we're so in it, we can't see it, we can't feel it, right? Remember, I've talked about, what if it's a horrible, terrible, no good, very bad day? Then we have our friends, we have our spiritual practitioners, licensed practitioners, we have our ministers, and each other to lean on and to walk that path with. So the encouragement is for us to do that. And this month, we're really getting present to the hero's journey and to look to that for wisdom in moving through our lives in a powerful way. Are you with me? Yeah. All right. So the hero's journey represents that process of psychological and spiritual transformation from innocence to a self-actualized adult, and everyone has that capacity to be the own hero. I would go further than, not only do you have the capacity, you are the hero of your journey. You affirmed it in the beginning of this talk, or the beginning of the service. I am the hero of my own journey. How powerful. So a hero, according to Joseph Campbell, is someone who has given their life to something bigger than oneself. And this journey entails a challenging evolutionary process that serves to shape and strengthen and prepare the individual for their life work. And so this hero's journey begins and ends at home. Now I'm going to go through a little bit of this hero's journey with you now so we can all be on the same page. So we have 12 steps to the journey according to Joseph Campbell that happen in 3 phases. So the first phase is departure, the second phase is initiation, and the third phase is return. So during the departure, one leaves the ordinary world and sets out on their call to adventure, their challenge or their quest, right? And this really inspired me because I was thinking that not only are we the hero of our own journey, we have this long experience, and then we have these little mini experiences that are also kind of like the hero's journey on their own, right? And so moving those into this great continuum of our lives is kind of fun to really look at. But there's the departure, and then when it's time for the departure or the beginning of that journey, there's generally an initial reluctance to answer the call. Can anyone relate to that? Yeah, that reluctance, which is overcome usually with the guidance of a mentor. Somebody shows up in our lives, we talk to them, and something transforms, and we accept, and we decide. We have faced our fears, and then we're prepared to move forward, right? And so this is the time of initiation, is the next phase, which we develop strength and character through enduring those trials and tribulations and tests, right, with the help of our allies and our friends that we find along the way. And then in the final showdown, the person actually slays their dragon, the inner dragon, and is gifted with an insight or a massive insight and awareness that transforms us into our own hero. So that then initiates the return home, and as we return home, we can never be the same. We come back and we're different, you know? We come back and everything looks different, and it takes a minute to kind of embody and integrate everything into our lives. Now, this is also so true for spiritual awakenings, isn't it? You have this experience, and then you become aware of it, and then it's like, oh, wow, you know, I'll never say that thing again or believe that thing again, and it's like you've stepped into this whole new world where you've got to be the person that you came here to be, which is awesome. Amazing, yes? So the 12 actual steps are the ordinary world. Step 2 is the call to adventure. Step 3 is the refusal of the call. Step 4 is meeting the mentor. Step 5 is crossing the threshold. And step 6 is tests, allies, and enemies. You figure out what those are for you. And then the 7th step is approach to the innermost cave. You're approaching the cave where that inner dragon is that needs to be slayed, right? And 8th is the ordeal. The 9th step is the reward. The 10th is the road back. 11, the resurrection. And 12, the return. So breaking those down a little bit more, we've got first the ordinary world. You know, when you're watching a movie, right? Watching a movie, the ordinary world is we meet the hero, we identify with the hero. And then the hero is called to an adventure, right? Some sort of adventure. There's a challenge or quest that is proposed to them. And then they don't want to do it. That's the third step. They don't want to do it. They reject the call because of either fear, hesitation, insecurity, or some other reason. And then they meet someone. Someone comes into their lives, they're a mentor, and they say, hey, this is going to really benefit you. And the mentor helps the hero to gain that confidence. It gives insight and advice to overcome their fears. And then the fifth is crossing that threshold, which signifies the hero has committed to the journey. When they cross the threshold, they have moved from refusing the call, meeting the mentor, and then realizing, I've got to do it. They cross the threshold. They're now committed to the journey. Are you thinking about something in your life and where you're at in this area or that you've gone through? Right? So awesome. And so an example is Frodo packed the food to take and set out past the Shire, or Luke Skywalker left Tatooine. Harry Potter got on the train at platform 9 3/4. Any Harry Potter fans? Yeah, a few, huh? Mulan set out to the military camp. In the 12-step programs, one says yes to treatment, rehab, or a 12-step program, right? And they head out to begin the adventure of reclaiming their lives. And then they run into tests, allies, and the perceived enemies, So the hero in this time needs to learn who can be trusted. Who can be trusted here? And then a sidekick emerges. Somewhere, right? Someone that you can trust and lean on and talk to and share with, like Hermione and Ron, or Sam, Mushu, R2-D2, and C3PO. You've got your sidekicks all of a sudden, right? In The Wizard of Oz, she's got a ton of sidekicks, which I'm going to share that full story. So, and then there's the step 7, approach to the innermost cave. In this space, preparations are needed, and these preparations could include maps, reconnaissance to enter the cave. In 12-step programs, the innermost cave refers to working through feelings of shame and guilt, because many have either drank or used to cover up painful negative emotions. And to continue on that journey, we're called to face the reasons that we chose to drink and use, And then step 8 is the ordeal. This is the greatest fear and most difficult challenge. The work is challenging, but so worth the reward. This is the time when you face that challenge, And then number 9 is the reward. So the hero overcame that greatest fear, that greatest challenge to earn the reward. Mulan's life was spared after it was discovered that she was a girl. Luke received the Death Star plans. Remember that? Excuse me for one moment. Luke received the plans for the Death Star. Harry Potter received the Sorcerer's Stone. Remember that? Frodo received a sword. The 12-step program reward is a lot higher, right? Because they are getting prepared to, the reward for them is freedom from being entrapped by maladaptive behaviors, and that freedom is priceless. And then you have the road back, right? All right, the journey happened, and then there's the road back, and this stage is comprised of the hero recommitting to complete the journey and accept the road back to the ordinary world, which is never going to be the same, But they now have their tools. So 12-step programs have been prepared. They have tools and strategies to face things like cravings and triggers if anyone's in a 12-step program. And then number 11 is the resurrection. So this is like the most dangerous life and death ordeal for the hero, and it's actually the climax of the story, right? And so a final test that represents a cleansing could be a showdown between the hero and the shadow. And during this ordeal phase, we are called to look at those shadowy places. Oftentimes the shadowy places in our past, right? And then during that resurrection, there's one final challenge that awaits us. Mulan warns the rest of the army that Shan Yu is hiding to attack. No one believes her, but she's got to convince them of the danger. In your resurrection, you might face the deep, dark secret that you forgot about. Has anybody ever had that experience? Like you face this thing and then you're like, that was nothing. Why was I even, it's so powerful to have that freedom and resurrection from that. And then the 12th is the return. So now you have returned, the final reward after the hero was resurrected, purified, and has returned to the ordinary world. You've done the difficult work. You've had the help of mentors, allies, and self-efficacy, and are now prepared to return home. But there's a very important piece in that, right? Usually it comes with return with the elixir. Like you have learned something, and there's something in there about your life purpose and what you are up to. And so you have this elixir, and you're not just going to take that elixir and place it in your fridge and close it for good. You're going to share it with everyone, right? You're going to start sharing this elixir that you discovered and uncovered, because there is so much power in that sharing. And guess what? You get to become an ally for someone else on the same path. We're all walking each other home, aren't we? So why not help each other? It's so powerful. And so looking at that story of Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, so that story begins with Dorothy Gale in those drab surroundings of her family farm in Kansas when a tornado comes, right? The tornado touches down and there's wind and debris that's swirling around, and Dorothy gets hit in the head and is magically transported to the beautiful, dangerous Technicolor land of Oz, along with her dog, Toto. So upon awakening in this new land, she learns that her house had inadvertently landed on the Wicked Witch of the East. Uh-oh. The Wicked Witch of the West then threatens Dorothy for killing her sister. But Glinda, ally, Glinda the Good Witch, intercedes, giving Dorothy the dead witch's enchanted ruby slippers, which will afford protection for Dorothy as she travels. Dorothy wants to go back home, right? So Glinda suggests, hey, the Wizard of Oz might be able to provide assistance. Totally the hero's journey, right? And so she sets out to find the great wizard, and Dorothy meets the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Lion, who accompany her on her travels along the yellow brick road. Now, the Wicked Witch of the West, though, is intent on getting those ruby slippers, hindering and menacing Dorothy and her friends along the way. Now, Dorothy starts to transform. She transforms from that innocent child to the hero, especially when she slays the Wicked Witch of the West by dumping a bucket of water on her. Remember that part? Now she's a hero. So she's now in the last phase of her journey, and Dorothy delivers the witch's broomstick to the wizard as proof of her valor, expecting him to provide her an instant return to Kansas. Now the wizard turns out to be a fake. What? So just as Dorothy loses hope of ever finding her way back home, who appears again? Glinda! Glinda appears and informs Dorothy that she has always had the power to go home. With that insight, Dorothy clicks her heels 3 times and repeats, "There's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place like home." And then Dorothy and Toto are magically transported back to Kansas. She opens her eyes and sees that she is surrounded by family and friends who love her, who have been caring for her as she recovered from that blow to her head. Now Dorothy tells them about her adventure, and they laugh it off, right? They laugh it off. But the movie ends with Dorothy exclaiming, "Oh, but anyway, Toto, we're home, home. And this is my room, and you're all here, and I'm not going to leave here ever, ever again because I love you all." The hero's journey. I know, right? Oh, powerful, yeah. So in our lives, we experience the hero's journey, and we are the hero of our own story. And so, as I mentioned, the hero's journey begins and ends at home, in that space of safety, right? And so you come to a center like this, and the calling is for you to expand and grow and be more of who you came here to be, yes? Sometimes we have to let go of things. We have to let go of those things that no longer serve us, and let go of those walls that have been limiting us, you know? And oftentimes, the walls we didn't even know were limiting us, but they're the things that we say to ourselves when no one's looking, the things that we think that are preventing us from moving forward and being all that we came here to be. Those are the walls that need to be dissolved. But those are also the walls that keep us protected, right? We let those walls protect us and keep us safe. And it's not really safe, though. It's more of like a sheltered state that we're living in, because we're not being all that we came here to be because of that fear, because of that hesitation, or because of that insecurity. And so eventually that desire, though, to break free from those rules and those limiting beliefs prompts us to set out. What it looks like, you know, I've been doing this now for 10 years. I became licensed in 2012. And so what it looks like for students is that saying yes to trying this on for size, trying on this teaching for size, right? We've got a great class called the Mental Equivalence, and we have a lot of students in there who are beginning to look at what those walls are and what can I try on for size instead. Because if we open our minds and begin to think bigger, we're really open, right? Sometimes we only allow ourselves to think what we can do with our current resources. What's in my checking account? Nope, can't go there. Nope, can't go there. And then we just kill that dream, right? But what if we were to actually open up our minds and think that, yes, it's possible. It's possible. And knowing it will be done, regardless of what's the current circumstances or situation, conditions in our lives, you know? We can be all that we came here to be because we are the heroes of our own stories. Now, so we set out to explore the unknown, right? In our spiritual awakening, we have a new idea. We set out, we try this on for size, and we're not sure if it's going to work. And you keep hearing it, and you keep hearing all these great success stories, and then you're just going to try it and set out into the unknown and let go of that thing that has been sheltering you. Like how Dorothy left Kansas, Siddhartha gave up a kingdom, and in our minds, we're giving up what beliefs and conditions are preventing us from being all that we are. And then we come back home, and we're not the same person that we were when we left. We have new insight and understanding, and we are transformed from that old and limiting belief. We are transformed from that. It no longer is true for us. It was just a tape that kept playing in the background from something we heard when we were growing up along the way, from a community or from a partner that wasn't the right partner for us, or whatever the case may be, right? And now we're different. And now we're open and prepared to serve this greater cause. Oh, it's so beautiful. Now, your greater cause that you're serving could be humanity, nature, life, children, etc., right? So that hero comes into this full spiritual maturity by rising above to do the work of the higher self. Every single practitioner in this room had to face things, right? Every minister watching or anywhere, any minister's not even here not watching. All ministers had to face things. Like when I was in ministerial school, it was like I got my face ripped off, And I had to figure out how to get a new face because, like Humpty Dumpty, you can't put it back together, right? And that means there were moments of, what? Like, you mean that's not true? But it didn't come out that way. It was just like a shattering experience when you learned that this thing that I believed, what? And then you see the light, right? The light is right there. And it's like, oh. But there's that moment when you're kind of like, what? What? Or shocked, right? So at the end of Wizard of Oz, Glinda tells Dorothy she always had that power to return. And so we're called, friends, to remember we have this power within us. We have this power within us right now. We don't need to wait till we get to the wizard. We don't need to wait until we get to the Emerald City, right? We don't need to wait for that person to call, for this thing to happen, to have this much in our bank account. We have the power within us, and we always have. And now is the time to use it. And so whatever it is that you're wanting for yourself in your life, you can have. Whatever you want to be, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to have, it is yours. And it's time to start believing it. And I can't remember, I think it's Emmett Fox. I was going to say Ernest Fox. Emmett Fox, who said, keep your mind, sheesh, having a hard time here. Change your mind and keep it changed. That could be the challenge, yes? Change your mind and keep it changed. And then you will see that transformation. So the hero's journey is all of our journey. We have that power to return home. We have the power to create in our lives. We always have had it, and we always will. Like Dorothy, we've got to leave our safe surroundings and find and become all that we are meant to be. This reminds us then that we are home, right where we are. And that home is this place where we are known, where we are loved, where we experience the holy, W-H-O-L-L-Y, and the holy, H-O-L-Y, and we are free, and it is the best place that we can be. So friends, I want to say to you again, welcome home. We really have been waiting for you, and you know what? So have you. Thank you. Yeah, we'll invite the musicians to come on up as we begin to close today. So consider, my friends, this week, your call to action is to consider, in what phase of the hero's journey do I see myself? Am I still in a safety zone? Am I afraid to venture out while feeling that push or pull to do and be more? Or am I in the experience of trials, tribulations, and those fiery flames of initiation? Is something calling me forward, but I'm saying no? God is calling me, and I'm saying, go to voicemail, right? I'm not available, or you silence them, right? Are you in your safety zone? Are you experiencing those fiery flames of the initiation? Perhaps you have been intentional about your spiritual journey and feel confident that you've already slain your dragon. But then are you living your transcendent purpose? Are you living that? These are great questions to ask yourself this week, and we'll get those out to you. I'll work with Susan. And then the specific call to action for you to contemplate is, Joseph Campbell said, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek. I'm going to say that again. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. So what is that cave that you fear to enter? And what can you intentionally do starting today to move along in your journey? Do you need support and encouragement? Do you feel like you would benefit from having a mentor or becoming someone's mentor? Now let's take a deep breath together. Oh, yeah. And join me as we turn our attention inward once again to this place called home with a capital H. It's the place where spirit is, and it is this beautiful, brilliantly magnificent space of light and love and belonging and oneness and wholeness and holiness. And it is powerful. And it is in this moment that I remember that as I go forward from here, I recognize this power within me. And I know that I have had it all along. And so now I use it. Whatever that is for me, I'm so grateful to know that the lid has come off of whatever that belief is, and now I can allow my divine light to shine through and to know that I am living out my divine purpose. I am sharing the elixir that I have gained with everyone who needs it. And if that elixir is love and joy and peace and wholeness, I give it freely because it cannot be, it can never be depleted because it is eternal. Just as our prosperity and abundance is eternal, so are all of these gifts of the divine, which are the gifts of the kingdom within us. And so this week we recognize the hero's journey in our own lives. And we can silently say to ourselves, I am the hero of this journey. I am the hero of my own journey. And I do the next thing that I'm supposed to do. I listen for the divine guidance. I listen to the whisper of the divine for my next step. And I don't push it away. I take the next step and the next step. I am courting the divine and on a beautiful path. And this journey is wonderful. There's no place like home. And I am home, and so are you. And we welcome ourselves home. Thank you, Spirit, for all these gifts and so much more. I release this prayer now knowing it is so, and I invite you to help me anchor this truth by saying with me, and so it is.